So, Missy, last week we were in New York with Arthur, where money solved a lot of problems and caused even more, and also made me feel really confused.
Yes, I agree with that. And this week, though, we're definitely not in New York or anywhere where money is helping anyone.
Nope. This time it's three out-of-work actors in the middle of the desert who are wildly unprepared for what's coming.
Yes, and somehow, sister, that makes the Three Amigos one of the most oddly endearing comedies of the 80s. So, ready? Andale, andale!
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy, and this is Real Sisters Rewind.
Join us as we go back to the 80s. Welcome back to Real Sisters Rewind. We're two sisters who grew up on 80s movies and still think they don't make them like they used to.
And we're here to prove that every single week. I'm Missy.
And I'm Amanda. If you love great stories, iconic soundtracks, and movies that defined a decade, you're in the right place.
And hey, if you've been enjoying the show, do us a favor, leave us a 5-star rating, write a quick review, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.
That's right. We're even sending out Real Sister stickers to our 5-star reviewers. Just take a screenshot of your review and email it to hello@realsistersrewind.com, and we'll send one your way.
All right. This week, we've got a fun one, and Amanda, an equally or even exceedingly more fun guest.
Yes, joining us is my friend and former boss, Josh Densen. I'll say former friend, though, I'll put him at that as a higher priority. He's a fellow movie lover, and our movie this week, Three Amigos, happens to be one of his favorites. He's an expert. Welcome, Josh.
Yay.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Amanda.
Josh.
Thank you,
We're so
Amanda.
glad you're here.
Thanks, Missy. Thanks, Amanda. It's great to be here on your infamous podcast. You're not just famous, you're infamous.
We resemble
right.
that. We resemble that.
That is right, but we love it. We absolutely love it. So we're so glad you're here. Josh, what do you want to tell us about yourself, your love for 80s movies, your family, anything you want to tell us?
I mean, I love 80s movies. I have great memories of my brother and I, and then a little bit later, my younger brother, and the three of us just watching movies over and over and over, the same movies over and over on the VCR, where we would like wear it out. And sometimes they were rented from Blockbuster, and sometimes, more often than not, they were recorded right like off the TV. And so you memorized the movie and you memorized the commercials that came in between like each movie scene as they would come up. I'm a big movie, but a huge movie fan of the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. We did watch them over and over, and
you'd wear them out. Basically.
Yeah.
And
I think as kids, we would not only watch them over and over, but then we would play, like that would be what we would play sometimes.
For the characters of the movie.
Yeah. That would then be what we would play. And I do just want to mention, because I think this is kind of cool too, Josh is from up north. So we grew up down south, and Josh grew up, were you on Long Island?
I was in New Jersey.
New Jersey, that's right. Grew up in New Jersey.
Well, now you're down here, and welcome to God's country.
That's right. He loves it.
I do love it.
Well, y'all, I say let's vamonos, rebobinemos hasta 1986. Do you know what that means?
Well, first of all, did you pronounce it correctly? Because I'm not sure. Does it mean
sure.
Let's go back to 1986?
I mean, I know you girls always say let's rewind back to the year. So does it mean let's rewind back to 1986?
Actually, you're both right. It means let's rewind back to 1986 when our movie was released.
All right, let's set the stage. The Three Amigos hit theaters on December 12th, 1986. Missy, this is another December release.
I know.
I feel
there
like
are a lot of great December release movies.
Yeah, yeah.
So if it was December 12th, 1986, I think, Amanda, that means you turned 10 that fall. I was 18. I was a freshman in college. Josh, how old were you? And then you can kick us off. Do you remember the first time you saw it?
So I on December 12th, 1986, I was one day past my 8th birthday. So I turned 8 on December 11th, which I guess was a Thursday. This was a Friday. And I don't remember when I first saw the movie, but I texted my dad and my mom and my brothers to find out, like, did we see this in the theater? And everyone responded, I just remember watching it at home on TV. But my mom was like, no, we saw that in the theater. So yes, I went down. I'm sure it was playing in our like little one screen theater in my small New Jersey town. But I'm sure, according to my mother, that I saw this in the theater when it came out.
Well, you're claiming it. Amanda, what about you?
No, did not. Well, I mean, maybe I did. I don't think I did. I don't remember seeing it at the theater. And this is another one, Josh, I know we talked about because we're close in age or closer in age. A lot of these movies from like mid to early 80s, I remember seeing on the TV. Either it was a VHS or on HBO, or it was just on, but I don't remember like going as an event to see this one.
Yeah. Well, being a freshman in college, I can tell you, I did not go see this movie in theaters. I don't remember the first time I saw it. Probably it just was on TBS or it was on HBO or something, and I saw it. And I actually don't think I saw it all the way through until probably last week.
I thought that too, but I'm a little bit surprised because the actors in it, like I think about Chevy Chase and really all three of them, Martin Short and I can't think of his name.
Martin.
C. Martin, yeah,
Steve
the
Martin.
two Martins. I get them because, like, yeah. I would think people your age would have wanted to see them in a movie, I guess, but maybe not.
So. Yeah, I don't remember it. There was I should have probably researched this. Maybe there was another great movie that came out that December that I might have seen. Or I may have just been so studious that I was studying for my finals as a freshman. Maybe that was.
If I recall in my research, I could be wrong about this, but I'm 99% sure I remember. I believe The Golden Child, which was Eddie Murphy's follow-up to Coming to America, came out the same weekend and was like the top grossing movie this weekend, like December 12th, 1986.
Oh, wow. You just came with are you just a Wikipedia, Josh? I mean, come on.
I mean, I love this movie. I did.
He did his research. He did his research.
I came prepared.
Of course he did. Of course he did. Well, y'all, we were in 1986 just a few weeks ago with Pretty in Pink. So let's set the stage, so to speak, for this week in 1986. It was all about the Bruces, right? Like the top song was That's Just the Way It Is. Some things will never change.
Wait, that was the number one song?
That was the number one song. And then on People magazine was Bruce Springsteen.
Josh,
I mean,
that is your guy.
Oh, really?
He is my guy. Oh, hey, Missy, I'm from New Jersey. I was born in the late 70s. This is a birthright. You're going to have to put me on mute or stop me from talking about Bruce Springsteen for the rest of this podcast episode. But no, the cover of People magazine that week called Springsteen's album the hottest album in history.
That's a stretch.
Maybe not at the time. I mean, Born in the USA sold like 40 million copies. I don't know.
Would that have been Born in the USA? I guess so.
Yeah, it's possible they were referring to the live box set that came out a little bit after and more like 85, 86. But I think they're really talking about Born in the USA, which came out in 84. But the box set, this is the first time a 3-disc or 3-record or I guess it was 6-record live box set went to #1. That like
time out.
happened.
When you say record, because it's not like I see, it was like a record.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like in a box?
Yeah, it was a box set of records. I believe it was.
I don't remember those.
6. It was really unusual that a live collection. See, we're going to talk about Bruce Springsteen for too long, but his live 1975 to 1985 went to #1. It was a top selling album in the country, and it was this huge box set that had
That's
never
crazy, because I just think of box sets as like, remember we could get CDs like that, but I never thought about records being like this. Do you think that, wait, is this like when he had that video where he pulled Courtney Cox on the stage?
Absolutely. This was totally Dancing in the Dark, Born in the USA. And it was, if we're talking about, Real Sisters Rewind, it was also when he acted in his I'm on Fire video, where he was like the mechanic coming out of the car and driving the car.
I remember that.
Remember that?
I will say one thing. I don't typically think he's cute, but he's cute on this cover.
He's got Riz, Amanda.
Can you believe I know what that means?
No, I can't actually. How do you know?
Because when I teach leadership and we teach generational gaps, it's an example that we use. That's the only reason that I know what that means. But I'm just going to say this, Josh, and I don't mean to call your baby ugly.
Oh, boy.
I've never been a Bruce Springsteen fan. Like if a song comes out and I'm in the mood, I'll sing and dance, and I like the Courtney Cox video and all that. It's just never been my cup of tea. He's too like gritty or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he was a regional artist at a time of regional artists, right? Around the same time, you had Tom Petty in the South, you had John Mellencamp in the Heartland, and you had Springsteen in the Northeast. Like,
and they all kind of sound the same too.
Yeah, they're all kind of Heartland rock, I guess.
Yeah.
It's your guy. Yeah,
he's my man.
Well, I love that it just happened to be on the week when you were with us, Josh. That's exciting. Kismet. Well, so I think you may know this, Josh, through your sweet wife, who is one of my dear friends. But I know, Missy, you know that I am a huge fan, we both are, of true crime. But I love to listen to podcasts about true crime. And this is one from 1986. I listened to this podcast episode about it. Do either of you remember from back then the Chernobyl disaster? Do y'all remember that? Like, do you remember it as a kid, or as Missy, you were kind of an adult?
Okay, so rub it in my face. I'm so much older than y'all that I am the big sister and I'm a lot older. But I do remember it being in the news. I remember people talking about it. But again, I was a freshman in college and I wasn't really following the news. So I'm out like getting all snuggled in for you to tell us about the crime.
Josh,
disaster.
do you remember? Because it seems like to me something you would know.
I remember that word, even as a kid. I remember that word. I remember it being Russian, but it really wasn't until I was much older that I really
you knew about it.
Happened. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, he was a snaggletooth then. He was like was losing teeth. He doesn't know about
Chernobyl.
In the third grade.
He was jamming to Bruce.
He was.
Well, I actually don't remember it from that time either. I just know about it from the podcast. Shout out real quick to the podcast, The Alarmist. That's where I heard it. Is a great podcast. But it was the world's worst nuclear disaster on April 26 in 1986, a catastrophic explosion and fire at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine released massive amounts of radioactive material in the environment. And of course, that resulted in immediate deaths, long-term health impacts, and then a huge evacuation. It's a really interesting story.
I have not listened to the podcast, but have y'all watched the TV series about it? It's on
I have
Max.
not. I have not.
It is like exceptional. It's harrowing.
I'll have to watch
it's incredible. It's beautifully shot, but it's really, really scary.
I will watch that this weekend. Yeah. I have to say, Amanda, though, I don't understand like the tie-in of like crime stories to this. Is there some crime around it? Or you just were making the...
No, it's like there's
some crime
fault.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you wouldn't tell me to watch it if you didn't think it was good. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. But in better news or happier news, the World Cup that year was hosted by Mexico, which isn't that interesting since we're talking about the Three Amigos. Argentina ended up winning the whole thing, much to the help of their captain Diego Maradona and his hand of God goal he made. And all of our listeners know, I just found that in research. I know nothing about what really happened.
I think it was like this really spectacular goal. And so they called it like it was from the hand of God.
Yeah.
So they were not expected to win and they did. So
I don't really remember the World Cup in 86, but I do remember, speaking of sports, it was a big year for me in suburban New York, or I was in New Jersey, but we were in like the New York area.
Yeah.
Because the Mets won the World Series in 86. Big time. It was huge. It was a big deal.
Wait, were you Mets or Yankees fan?
So I'm you know me, I'm like always rooting for the underdog. And so like I was a little wrapped up in the Mets, like fever and all. But because they became so popular, I actually at that time was like, well, I'm gonna be a Yankee fan because no one's giving them any love. And they were not good in the middle, in the 80s.
Right.
Like, they were like a bad team. So I became a Yankee fan around the time that the Mets came to prominence. And I paid my dues with Kevin Moss and Willie Randolph and and Don Mattingly for a little bit too. And then all of a sudden in the 90s, it all paid off.
They got really great.
But I was a Giants fan in the NFL, and they had a great season in 86 and won the Super Bowl that was played, in early 87.
Wow.
That's right. And Missy and I have come to the conclusion that we love the Yankees because we like those pinstripes.
Yeah, we like the way those outfits look.
Mm-hmm. We like the pinstripes.
Take your eyes off those pinstripes. Yeah.
Nope, that's why they're our favorites.
Yeah.
Well, another big topic in 1986 was what was happening in daytime soaps. Soap operas,
a great year for soap operas.
They were huge at this time. Like not we, because I was too little, but you would set our VCR or Betamax, whichever it was at that time.
It was a Betamax.
To record every day the soap operas.
And let me just tell you, you may have been a little tight, but you were all up in
I know. I'd get
the
my
drama
snack
of it all.
And get on the couch, and we would watch Days of Our Lives, which was huge at this time. It was actually the top rated during this time period. And there was no more popular than the super couple Bo and Hope.
Oh, that's right. There were a lot of big storylines, though. We had Jennifer Horton, who came back on the scene, and Shane and Kim had a baby, but was it Shane their baby? Right. Like, I think they kind of kept us hanging. Josh, did you watch soaps at all?
I mean, no. I'm more. I don't. You're speaking a foreign language to me. I know the names of these soaps, but I don't even. Jennifer Horton, Shane, and Kim. Who are these people?
You don't know Bo and Hope. You've never heard Bo and Hope or Luke
I've
and
heard
Laura?
Luke and Laura.
Yes, General Hospital.
Yeah, that. I came across them in my elementary school days.
So Josh, I got hooked on them at a very early age. Again, I was like the youngest in my family of cousins and everybody. But when I was a little girl, my daddy, this was before I started kindergarten, would come home for lunch every day. And he would go to my grandmother's to eat lunch, and she basically lived in our yard. And she did. She lived in a trailer in our yard. And so
different time.
It was a different time. And he would go to her house for lunch every day. And a lot of days I would go down there. And after we would eat lunch, he would get on the floor. He would lay down with this pillow and watch. Everybody would watch All My Children. And I was just right there with them watching All My Children.
For sure.
Wow.
Yes, it was a different time.
Soap operas. I mean, I don't know soap operas, but one thing I do remember from 86 were the commercials. And two commercials really stand out in my mind. So one, the California Raisins
Heard
That's
it
when
through
they
the
debuted.
grapevine?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Oh,
Dancing
yeah.
Heard Through the Grapevine. So cool. Like the claymation of it all or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
they were a cultural phenomenon and they
You could
debuted in
collect
86.
them.
Yes, my cousin had the Bendables. It was a big deal.
Yes.
I remember them. You
Yeah.
could have all the little people.
Yeah, like what a great stroke of like marketing genius. Like kids were collecting raisins.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
That's up there with like the Chick-fil-A cow.
Truly, you're
Right?
like Fuzz
It's that
McKenzie.
kind
Like,
of marketing genius.
yeah,
Yeah.
Now,
fantastic.
here's the question. Did it
Yeah.
make us eat raisins?
I don't
No.
know. I wanted the sunglasses. That's as far as I was concerned, they were marketing sunglasses and like cool Marvin Gaye
Little
music.
collectibles,
Right, collectibles,
but not
right.
raisins.
No, who wants to eat raisins? I mean, come on, let's get real. And Max Headroom was another one too. Now that I remember, because that was cool, right? He was this like
Yes.
computer generated guy
Oh,
selling
yeah.
Coke.
I forgot
he was
about
like-
It
that.
was weird.
It was very futuristic, right?
Yeah.
Very futuristic.
With like the lines in the background and like
Uh-huh.
a shaky head. But
Yeah,
that was still cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. And it just makes me think, I just feel like the 80s were I've said this before, but it, I think, relates to this too. Such a time of where we were on this brink of this
Yes.
like technology explosion. We were just like right there. We had no idea
Totally.
how big it was going to be. But this was like, reminds me of that. Well, we have to talk a little bit about Saturday Night Live. So I have to ask, were either of you, well, I guess, Josh, you weren't a Saturday Night Live fan at this time because you were too young. Were you a little bit?
The cast that came, that like this is when I first started to hear about Saturday Night Live from like the older kids on my block. Like we would all go out. But I wasn't staying up late enough. That really didn't happen until like fourth grade, and 86, 87 was third grade for me.
Yeah.
But like I was very much aware of Saturday Night Live at this point.
That's exactly how I feel because Missy, I don't know if you were a fan of this particular time period, but I do remember being younger and hearing y'all and like I remember maybe like Michael Malone one time. We were all together at our house, and I remember.
Yeah, I wasn't like I had to be on the couch watching it every Saturday night, or that I had the Betamax recording it, but definitely I was a fan of Saturday Night Live back in the day. And actually sometimes every once in a while it's still funny.
Was your husband Missy? I feel like he would have been a big Saturday Night Live fan at the time.
I don't know. I don't think so.
That surprises me.
Maybe he was. I think he liked more like the older ones because he was younger, like the Belushi and the Aykroyd and all of that.
Yeah.
I think that's when he would have liked it.
I think this was really the beginning of the comeback, right? Like there was a time in the early 80s where it wasn't great.
Yes. So that's one of the things that I read about is that this year marked the beginning of season 12, and they eliminated 11 people out of the group. So there's like a lot of shakeups.
Well, I think I don't mean to interrupt, but I was doing my research on this. But you said eliminate a lot of people out of the group. Y'all remember on Dallas where like one season was like a dream and they didn't like reveal it until like the first episode?
It was JR. Who shot JR?
Right. So apparently Madonna at the beginning of this season claims that all of last season was just a dream of Saturday Night Live. So they kind of parodied. So that's
funny.
how they like cleaned house with all the
Well, they cleaned house apparently because they were trying to restart and be better, be funnier. But they brought on two greats, Dana Carvey and Phil Hartman.
Oh, they are great. The church lady with Dana Carvey. That's my favorite character that he does. Well, that's a great segue, Amanda, into talking about the movie, The Three Amigos, and some facts and fascinating facts about it, because it was directed by John Landis. And that name might ring a bell because he also directed Coming to America, which we've covered, also Trading Places, which we will cover, and An American Werewolf in London, which I don't know if we'll cover that. But apparently he's considered like 80s royalty.
But Josh, the Thriller video, the Michael Jackson Thriller video.
Oh, that's
directed by John Landis.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I was about to ask you though, Josh, because when we were talking about this and you were thinking another movie came out, was you said,
It was The
was this
Golden
who
Child.
the
Is that
Golden
what you're
Child?
saying?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but was it
It was
John Landis?
I don't know if he directed that because he had his hands full around this time, John
Yeah,
Landis,
he would have
because
been.
he had directed the Twilight Zone movie in this time
Okay,
period, and there was
okay.
this terrible tragedy that involved like a helicopter
Oh
blade
my
and the
gosh, I
deaths.
know about this.
Yeah, so John Landis directed Three Amigos and then was in court basically all day during the post production of Three Amigos, like all during the editing process. So he would like go to court and then come home at night and edit because he was, on trial for these accidental deaths on
It
the
was
set
bad. It was
of
two children. It
Twilight
was
Zone. Yeah,
children. It was bad.
I don't know the details. I just know that
I know
it
it. I've
was
seen the
tragic.
video.
Oh,
It's very
She's
tragic.
she's seen the video. She's listened
oh,
to the podcast.
Um,
She'll turn her report in at the end of the
oh.
week.
Well,
yes.
speaking of Saturday Night Live, right? So this movie has a lot of Saturday Night Live connections. So it was originally written. The original screenplay was written by Steve Martin, and then he brought it to Lorne Michaels, who's the creator and
Of
executive
course.
producer of
Yes.
Saturday Night Live, who then brought in Randy Newman, of all people. You know Randy Newman.
So Randy Newman in like Toy Story, You Got a Friend in
Yeah.
Me, Monsters
Yeah.
Inc. That guy?
Yes,
Yeah,
the very
songwriter.
same.
He
Yes.
wrote this.
Wow.
Yeah, and he didn't just co-write the script. He wrote music for the movie too. And just to piggyback on
Wait, for the Three Amigos?
yeah, he did.
Oh.
And a little more Saturday Night Live connections is did you notice Phil Hartman and John Lovitz were in the movie? And those are Saturday Night Live connections as well.
Huh.
And another fun fact, Steven Spielberg originally considered directing Three Amigos, but he opted out to direct E.T. instead, which I think was a good call.
Agreed.
That is a sliding doors moment.
It is. You're so true, Amanda.
I mean, oh my word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, you go ahead, Josh.
You go ahead, Miss.
Well, I was just going to say I had read that too and had the same thought. Like that was a really good call. And interestingly enough, when he was considering directing it, he wanted Martin in his role, but in his mind, he had cast Bill Murray for the Chevy Chase role of Dusty and then Robin Williams for the Martin Short role of Ned.
Like, talk about a powerhouse.
I
Like,
know.
that could have
Any
been
of them
something.
would have been great.
I know it.
I mean,
I know
really,
it.
any of them would have been great. And then while the final trio ended up being, as we said, Stephen Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short, it is hard to say those Martins together.
You said Stephen Martin, actually, but I know you meant Steve Martin.
Yeah, thank you for
because it's hard to
correcting me.
say.
Well, if you hadn't corrected me, one of our real fans would, so I appreciate that. But it did almost look very different because they considered Robin Williams, they considered Bill Murray, and here's an interesting fact. Fran Drescher had a role in the movie. From The Nanny. I can't even talk. You talk like her, Josh. How would she say The Nanny?
Because I'm from New Jersey.
Yes. Yes.
I don't. Her voice is so iconic.
It is.
I don't know that I could do it justice.
Well, I definitely didn't. But anyway, she probably thought, "Oh, I've got a role in this movie with these big names." But all of her scenes got deleted.
I bet she was. Or go ahead, Josh. No,
please.
No.
I was gonna say you could still see evidence of her though. So there's one scene in this movie.
Okay.
Steve Martin's up on a wall when they're gonna. I don't want to spoil the plot of the movie or anything, but when they're about to break into the
and they're on the wall,
and he's like, "Hey, look up here! Look up here!" Behind him is this big billboard, and it's a movie poster for one of Fran Drescher's characters' movies. So and there's a painting of her on there. I think her character's name was Miss Renee. So if you rewind back to that scene, you can actually see a picture of Fran Drescher as Miss Renee in this movie advertisement behind Steve Martin.
That is very cool. And I'm thinking she must have been really young then.
Yeah.
Like,
you're right.
That's like an Easter egg. You'd call that an Easter egg today,
Indeed.
right?
That is very, very, very interesting. I thought of a connection real quick though. Fran Drescher was, of course, in The Nanny, and the guy who played like the guy she worked for, I don't know his name because I can't remember. It's been so long, but that was Shane Donovan.
Hey, I was going to say,
yes,
it was Shane. Yes.
So
right over Josh's head.
Who's Shane Donovan? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Days of Our Lives. Days of Our Lives.
I don't know if this is true for you, Missy, but for a lot of people, this is like the first introduction to Martin Short in America because I think he may have had a run a little bit on Saturday Night Live. This is his first movie.
It was his first movie, in Canada,
right?
And doesn't he look like a little boy?
Yes.
He's such a little kid in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
Three
so
Amigos
cute.
Was his film debut.
Yeah, I also thought about the fact that now he and Steve Martin have that big hit, Only Murders in the Building. So he started with Steve, and here he is. I don't want to say the end of his career, but into the tenure of his career.
Yes.
They're back together doing comedy.
I know. And they're so cute.
It all dates back to this movie, really.
Yeah.
Like they hadn't met before, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And Missy, you're a huge Martin Short fan.
I love Martin Short. I just think he's hysterical. I could just list things, but none of it's in the 80s. So maybe we'll have to do like a throwback to Martin Short for the 90s. But I will say, you were talking about like Here They Are Again. There was remember the show, and it may still play, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah.
So Chevy Chase and Martin Short were 2 of 10 contestants on like a celebrity version. And they got down to the final 2. And then Martin Short had an opportunity to phone a friend, and he phoned Steve Martin. Mm-hmm. And ironically, for our podcast, it's such a great story because Steve Martin was in Mexico when he called him.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not. Isn't that crazy?
That's a great story. That's so cute. Who ended up winning? Do you know?
I don't know.
Got to find out. Well,
I'll have to find out and put it on social.
Well, this movie, perfect timing, is about an hour and 44 minutes, and it's rated PG. So it was perfect for families.
For Josh's family who went, his mom says they did.
That's
his siblings said he didn't.
It's true.
And it's what Amanda and I always call Josh. That's our sweet spot for time. And I feel like we've said that a lot lately, Amanda. Yeah. A lot of our movies have really been in that sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
As it was a sweet spot for time, but it wasn't a blockbuster. It made around $39 million on a $25 million budget. So that isn't a complete flop, but it really wasn't this huge success that people hoped it would be until it came out on the VHS and on the cable rotation. Then it became a real serious cult following.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I guess that's definitely true because I feel like everybody knows the Three Amigos. I feel like everybody knows that movie and can quote lines and knows the jokes. So when hearing you say that was surprising to me that it wasn't a bigger hit when it came out. But like you said, we watched it on VHS or on HBO or somewhere and everybody thought it was really funny. So would you say, Josh, you're a part of the cult following?
Oh, I am drinking the Kool-Aid in the cult.
I love it. I love it. Well, interestingly enough, Amanda, you were talking about that being surprised. Empire Magazine actually contacted Steve Martin to do a photo shoot with the cast to celebrate its 25th anniversary. And he asked them, why? Why would you want to do that? He had no idea the film had become such a cult hit.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
I know, right? All right, let's mount our horses and grab our sombreros and let's ride into the sunset with Three Amigos.
Okay, so here's the story behind the Three Amigos.
It's Mexico. 1916. That's what that first card says when you come into the movie. And in this small Mexican village known as Santa Poco is being terrorized by the bandit El Guapo, which, by the way, means the handsome one or the good looking guy. And that guy was played by Alfonso Ara. Ara, how do you say that, Josh? You probably know. You probably have his autographs.
Didn't you take Spanish?
I did 2 years, but I don't know. Aura, Arau. I'm not exactly sure how to
Aura.
Arau?
Arau. I knew Josh would know.
I don't
knew he
know.
would
No. I took Spanish in high school, but I didn't do very well.
Well, I took French, so I can't
That's your
take the blame.
excuse. At least you got it. Me and Missy don't have that.
No, we don't have an excuse. But anyway, El Guapo and his gang are collecting protection money and basically running the place.
Yeah, and then Carmen, who's like the daughter of the village. I mean, is she beautiful or what?
She is beautiful.
Like lights out. She's
the one, when I saw her
incredible.
come on the screen, that's when I remembered that I had seen this movie, because as a child, I remember thinking she was so beautiful. And she actually reminded me, Missy, I mean, her skin and her coloring of our cousins like Carla and Tammy with their dark hair and dark skin. Like that, I remember as a child thinking that.
Yeah, and her name is actually Patrice Martinez. And
That's
y'all, we lost her in 2018.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay,
what were you saying about Carmen? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Carmen becomes kind of like the leader and the animator of the whole plot, because she decides enough is enough. We've got to put an end to this raiding from El Guapo. And she goes into town from Santa Poco into the town of Diablo, which I had not caught. That's the name of the town where the cantina is.
Okay.
Looking for people who are going to help her to defeat El Guapo.
Well, while she is there, she goes into a nearby church and she sees a silent film playing. People are like in the church watching this film. And it's starring these three heroic looking guys called the Three Amigos. And she believes from watching the movie that they are really these heroes. She doesn't see them as actors. She thinks they're like
it's a documentary.
Yeah, like they're really heroes.
So what she does is she goes right from the town into the place where you send a telegram, and she sends the telegram to Hollywood asking for them to come and fight El Guapo, the Three Amigos, that is, right? But she doesn't have enough money for a long message. She sends this long message about exactly what she wants. So the operator, it was hysterical. He's like, how much have you got? Well, it crossed out the words. You're only going to be able to send this many words. So it comes out saying something like, come, stop El Guapo, stop, help us, stop. Like, I don't know exactly, Josh, you probably know.
I do. So Carmen so Carmen is in the telegram office and is like, please, like, dear Three Amigos, you are very great. Come to the town of Santa Poco, and defeat, and stop the murderous, terrible, horrible, like villainous El Guapo, and just like
she's warning them of the danger, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's like a 100 or 100 peso version, and the guy behind the telegraph is like, let me give you the 10-cent version, or the 10 peso version, and takes all those adjectives and turns them into infamous or infamous.
Yes. Yes.
And this is one of those like subtle, this is why I love this movie so much. It's a subtlety that as a kid you don't really get, particularly a kid in the 80s, never seen a telegram before. But so he takes all those adjectives and turns them into infamous, and then the sentence is stop the infamous El Guapo. So it's like stop El Guapo, right? But
yes.
In telegrams, you would write stop at the end of a telegram.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and
that's
then
right.
your name would be like who it was from. So later on, that adds to the confusion that the Three Amigos find themselves in when they receive this telegram.
Yes,
Wow.
that's right. There's a lot to the telegram for sure. That the telegram is the whole miscommunication for sure.
time.
That's where it all starts for sure.
Yes.
So then that telegram is sent off, and we cut to Hollywood, where we meet the Three Amigos. We meet Lucky Day. These are great names. Lucky Day, Dusty Bottoms, and Ned Niederlander, who are Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short, respectively. And they are silent film stars. They are not heroes at all.
My favorite name is Dusty Bottoms. That's my favorite one.
I couldn't keep them apart. Like, I couldn't remember who was who. So I was like, oh, Chevy Chase, he was in a Christmas Vacation, and he was in that dusty attic. And that's the only way I
could remember he was Dusty Bottoms.
Yeah.
Well, they've just gotten fired from their studio in Hollywood after they demanded a raise. They were fired. They were thrown out of their Hollywood mansion that they were living in.
Josh, go.
You're going to have to stop me, because I'm going to be jumping in on almost every scene. So that scene when they get fired is an all-star scene.
Yes,
the Three Amigos.
Yes.
Right? You've got Phil Hartman and John Lovitz, like you said, Missy, from SNL, and Joe Mantegna.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Is like is Harry Flugelman.
Yes.
And even as a kid, I recognized just how funny Phil Hartman was on the phone. He would say things like, "Get wardrobe on the phone, take the Amigos' clothes."
Yes.
Like, so
that was
funny.
Hilarious. Yeah, even as a kid, like that would have been, it was really, really funny. I agree.
Well, Amanda, let me say this as you wrap up this thought. What was so funny to me in this scene was that, like, their clothes were basically like studio clothes. And the way they're basically paying these actors is by feeding them from like the commissary and giving them a place to stay, which seemed a bit like a movie studio.
Yes. Yep. It didn't seem very legit.
No.
Well, when Carmen's telegram shows up, they think they've landed a new movie role. They think they're headed down to Mexico to film a movie.
Yes.
To put on a show and stop the infamous El Guapo. Not just famous, he's infamous.
So I have to give you kudos, Josh, because when you said that about us at the beginning, now I'm seeing how it ties.
I knew. But the funny
Missy,
thing is
I have a plethora of those kind of comments. Trust me.
Oh, okay.
But Josh, explain when they get the telegram. One of them, I can't remember, asks what that means.
Yeah. One of them was like, infamous? Yeah. And I think Martin Short's like, I think it's Martin Short. You don't understand. He's not just famous. He's infamous. He's that famous.
Yes. So they're so excited. It is a big deal.
That's so good. So they've been fired. They've been kicked out of their home. And so they're going to get this job, though. So they break in the studio, they grab their costumes, they head to Mexico, and they are completely convinced that they're about to shoot a film with El Guapo.
So they get to Mexico, and they walk into this cantina, and this is like one of my favorite scenes now as an adult. Well, there's as is over and over in this movie, there's great stuff for the kids and there's great stuff for the adults too. So they walk into this cantina in town. The cantina, I don't know if you caught the name of the cantina. Cantina del Borracho, which means canteen of the drunk.
I was going to say, I thought it had something to do with drunk. Yeah.
It's literally like where the drunks go to drink. And they walk in. This is one of my favorite Steve Martin lines, like in the whole film. They walk in this like really like rough and tumble kind of cantina with all these like bad dudes, right? They're like hard Scrabble. They're shooting up people and everything. And they walk in these like bedazzled sombreros.
Their costumes are so funny.
They walk up to the bar, and Steve Martin, in his Steve Martin way, goes, excuse us. We're not Mexicans. We're from out of town. Like, as if it wasn't so obvious when they walked right in. And I did not catch that until I was way older, just how funny that line was. But I did catch this because we kind of skipped over this. There was, prior to them walking in, a German who was in town to deliver arms, to deliver guns to El Guapo for his birthday party that we're going to be at in a little bit, came in and killed a few people and told him that his friends were on the way.
Yes.
Not as nice as he is. So the people in the cantina were like prepared to have these like really tough people come in, and you will definitely know who they are when you see them. And so the bartender, when he sees the Three Amigos, is like, "You are the," and he winks at them, and everyone and Three Amigos are like, "Oh yeah, another fan. Like, of course he's seen our films." And then he goes, "The German says to wait here." And even as a kid, I thought Steve Martin's reaction to this was so funny. Yeah. Because he's so clearly confused. Just so clearly confused. All right.
I love all of this. I love because I love how they truly think that they are there as actors and that everyone is so enamored with them. Like that is absolutely hysterical to me.
Yeah.
And the other thing I love, parts of the adults, I loved how all the shootout, anytime they were shooting, first of all, it felt like a John Wayne Western because it was like, pew, 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 and there was like no blood, nothing. I mean, it was just like very, like almost like animated the way they would like fall over the rail. And it reminded me of something from like a Disney ride, like the Pirates of the Caribbean or something is what it reminded me of.
Well, I just have to say that listening to Josh tell the story is much funnier to me than it was in real life. Like I'm loving it. I may have to go back and watch it now, like while I've got the podcast in one ear and like pause it and watch it and see it through Josh Densen's eyes.
If I introduce new people to this movie, including the host of this podcast, I will feel accomplished and like I did my job here as a guest.
He's done what he was supposed to do.
I love it.
All right, so
Josh,
where are we in this plot?
Well, I was going to ask, somewhere around here is that singing bush scene. Are we there yet?
Gosh. Oh my gosh. I mean, it depends how in detail you want to go with this plot. But they hook up with Carmen, who brings them to Santa Poco.
Okay.
And then they're in Santa Poco, and they're taken together like hero. They're like taken in like heroes, and the whole town, they like throw a party for them that they're there. No, sorry, they're eating first.
Yes.
First they like are in the home and they're eating, and Chevy Chase has a great line.
I know what you're gonna say. It's what I was.
You say it, Amanda. It's a great line.
Well, if it's not, well, you'll have another one. But I love it. They're
line.
sitting there eating this great Mexican spread, and he's like, "Do you have anything besides Mexican food?" And you're just like, and you're like. It's so funny. I'd actually said that to you.
That's funny. I mean, that's a funny line.
Hilarious.
Even to like an 8-year-old, that's a funny line. And then in a like homage to old movies, like all three of them are in one bed at night.
Yes.
Yes. It made me think of the Three Stooges.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is an old movie thing from the silent movie era where they've put 3 men in a bed. And they're all talking about like what they're gonna do with the money. And Steve Martin's like, I'm gonna be a big shot for a while and like throw lots of parties and like live the Great Gatsby lifestyle and like, like go in limos. And then Chevy Chase is like, I'm going to go to Rome and Paris and London. And they're all going to be these all going to spend all this money. And it goes to Martin Short and he's like, I'm going to open up a homeless shelter for needy children. And they were both like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that too. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. They're like, well, we're going to do that after. We're going to do that.
Right. So then quickly, because I know I can go on and on about this movie. The next morning, Guapo's men come into town to like get some liquor or something, and they get called out, and they're like, "They're here now! Come on out!" And like put on the Guapo's men are here now, and they're like, "What? There's only 3 of them? I hope they don't try to like skimp us on the money." So they go out there and they confront the 3 guys, and they're like, they like tell them their lines. Like what they're supposed to say, they like rehearse their lines, and eventually, and they like run around in a circle shooting their guns in the air, and it's like totally ridiculous. I also think it's the first time we see the Three Amigos salute, which Amanda, to a elementary school boy.
Yes,
this was about the funniest thing we'd ever seen. Right?
Oh, I bet.
This and then the.
Yeah. It reminded me of the Macarena.
Elementary school kid.
Yes.
So they run off. They think they've they've run off El Guapo's men, and they throw this big old party at night. And that's where I'll pause because we can get to the singing bush, but I'll pause there.
So we're not to the singing bush.
Not to the singing bush yet.
Missy.
No. But I have to tell you, Josh. So, because we talked about the bar scene, which I did think was hilarious, but this scene where they confront these few El Guapo's men for the first time, it's my favorite scene of the whole movie. It is absolutely hysterical. I mean, just those three. Oh my goodness, it's so funny. But yeah, so like Josh said, they throw a big party, they celebrate, like they've won, like this is a big deal. And meanwhile, the El Guapo's men have gone back to report to him what happened. And so he decides he's going back with the full gang and he's going to take these amigos out. They think these guys are serious business.
And then it was about that same time, I think, that the German and his folks arrive at the cantina and show that they're just as fast with the gun as he is. And so the mix-up starts to unravel. Like, if I'm being honest, I might have fallen asleep during this part.
It's all right.
Like, Josh has got you. Don't worry.
Okay.
So what happens when El Guapo comes back to town is, the Three Amigos go through their act again, and they're like doing their My Little Buttercup dance or whatever. And
that was hysterical.
And he's like, these guys are funny guys. I like these guys. Just kill one of them. And so his number two, Jefe, which is hilarious that Jefe is his number two. But anyway, shoots Steve Martin in the upper left arm. And that's when they realize that it's real.
It's real.
And they're like, we're just actors. We're movie stars. And El Guapo's like, I'm not going to kill you guys because you guys are wimps.
Wait, Josh.
Yeah.
Josh, this is also when he realized it's a real bullet. And they're like, you guys can get you guys are going to get in a lot of trouble for this.
You're in a lot of trouble. You're so good. And then they run off. The Three Amigos go away. And then because they leave, El Guapo and his men ransack the town. They take Carmen away. They burn homes and whatever. It's just terrible stuff. And then after a while, the Three Amigos come back and they're like, where's Carmen? Carmen's been taken away. And they determine through some resolve that they're going to be the Three Amigos for real. And they have nothing to go back to in Hollywood. Their careers are over. They have no money. They have no home. And they're going to go do this. And they're going to go save Carmen, defeat El Guapo, and save the town. So that's when they go out.
Ned that convinced them to this, right?
Yes.
And he's the bleeding heart of the three for sure.
And then we finally get to the singing bush, Missy. You remember the singing bush?
I do. I remember the singing bush. And do you two know? I know you do, Josh, but Amanda, do you know who is the voice behind the singing bush?
No, I have no idea.
You've got a friend in me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Randy Newman.
That is, I wonder, but I was like, surely this is somebody, that I would know. But real quick, before they got to the singing bush, I think it's or actually,
it's before.
It's before when they sit around and they're having their campfire night.
Before,
I love that. Yes. And they're singing to Ned. He's the little boy. It's so funny.
I mean, we were so tickled as kids that there were singing horses and a talking turtle. I mean, that was so funny to my 10-year-old self.
Maybe that's in my mind where I think it's like a Disney ride.
Totally.
Yes, it reminds me of Splash Mountain. I keep telling y'all things that it reminds me of, but it did. I was like, they could have had Splash Mountain with this.
Do you remember what songs the singing bush sang?
No, I don't.
Do not.
She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain.
Yes. Something else.
Blow the Man Down. Good Night, Ladies. Merrily We Roll Along. My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. Erie Canal. Dixie. In the background, he's singing Dixie. And for He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
I for sure was asleep during that. Maybe when he started, she'll be coming around the mountain. I was like, she'll be closing her eyes for a moment to catch up. Snooze. I definitely don't remember all that. I am going back to rewatch this. I'm
But
sorry, real
Josh,
fans.
Yeah.
remind me what happens. They're supposed to find
so
the
good.
invisible
The
swordsman,
invisible swordsman.
right?
So,
And then he's
yes.
like, "You cut it."
So they each have, I mean, this is the thing. For me and my two brothers, or me and my brother and my cousin, we would each take turns doing the different chants. Like these chants were funny. Chip, 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 nanny, and farley, farley, farley. Like these were funny things to us, even as kids. And then Chevy Chase shoots, you're supposed to shoot up, and he shoots kind of out.
Yes.
And he kills the invisible swordsman. And
But
Steve
he's
Martin has
invisible.
this line that I continue to use to this day. It's like living with a 6-year-old, which I thought was so funny. Anyways, all right. So then
It's funny.
they find their way to El Guapo's because of the German who is flying
That's right.
the plane to
Because
El Guapo's.
Ned had flown a plane like that in a movie, so he knew to recognize what it was.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's right. So they do. They follow the plane to the hideout, and it's just in time for El Guapo's big 40th birthday party and his plan to marry Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Or
just
he'll kill her.
I'm gonna make way for you to talk, Josh, because I know you've got some stuff to say about
Just
this.
gonna let me cook.
Yeah, just cook it. Just cook it.
Okay, so there's a few things that are awesome about this party. So first, before we get into the party, we've got Jefe and we've got El Guapo talking, and this is where the great plethora joke comes in, right? I mean, even as like in elementary school, my dad would be like, "Do you have a plethora of homework?" Or would you say you have a plethora of Brussels sprouts on your plate or whatever? It was so funny and so clearly written by Steve Martin, because all of a sudden El Guapo gets like super articulate and is like, I would just want to know that if somebody says they have a plethora, that they know what a plethora is. Anyway, hilarious stuff.
But you know what, Josh? Steve
Yeah.
Martin is really smart.
Oh, very
Like he's known to be brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what also is about Steve Martin? You know that like lassoing? You might have been asleep, Missy. I'm not sure, but like
No, I
he does a lot of
know.
lassoing.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know where this comes from? This is real.
I do. I researched
no,
that.
bring it on.
No,
What do
you tell it. You tell it.
No.
Okay,
Got it.
so he learned, and what if I'm wrong, Josh? Oh well,
You're gonna
maybe
be
I'm
right.
not. He
It's
learned
yes and
his
we're good.
lassoing skills whenever he worked at Disneyland as a teenager.
Right. That's right.
Oh, wow.
He worked at Disneyland.
So many Disney connections.
I know.
Yeah.
Disney, Saturday Night Live.
So then they're outside the fortress and they want to break in. And even as a kid, I remember this being kind of like the Wizard of Oz, where like Dorothy and the Tin Men and all are like outside the fortress trying to break
And the
in.
monkeys. Yes,
And
I
the
had
monkeys,
that same
yeah.
thought. Yes.
So then they get in. I won't get into the details about how they got in, but they get in and they're on top of the fortress and they're each swinging in, and they each swing in
Yes.
3 different ways. And I will stop there because I want to share the space. So what happens when we jump in?
Well, no, Josh, you keep going. You've got me on the edge of my seat.
Well, it's compelling stuff. So they're each swinging in, and Chevy Chase goes first, and he goes directly into Carmen's room into like a wardrobe. And then Ned goes next, and he swings, and he gets caught in a piñata with his spurs. And then Steve Martin goes next, and his rope is too long, and so he gets dragged along the ground. And Steve Martin just cooks for the next, like, I don't know, 3 minutes, because he stands up, he gets 20 guns in his face, and he goes, "Seize him!" That's like pointing at El Guapo, which is hilarious. And then another thing that I didn't catch until I was like way older, he's like, first, El Guapo says something like, "We're gonna kill you," and like, now I have to kill you. And then he's like, "Did you say kill me?" Which is very funny. Finally, he's like, "I have 3 demands," and he says, 1, that you stop harassing the people of Santa Poco. 2, that all the land of Mexico be redistributed among the people and a proportional government be established consisting of 3 separate but equal branches of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial, and that the girl Carmen be released to me unharmed. And I mean, that's hilarious. Like,
it's hilarious.
Demands are to create a system of government.
Yeah.
That's funny stuff. So he
Yeah.
gets taken away, put in a dungeon. And along the way to the dungeon, he's like trying to explain like federalism and capitalism, and like it's like
they care, like they know what
like
he's
they have
even
any
talking
idea
about.
what he's talking about, right?
Okay, time out for just a second.
Yeah, time out.
Josh, are you a fan of The Office?
I love The Office.
Okay, because as you were just quoting that word by word, all I could think about was when Pete is such a fan of, is it The Matrix?
Die Hard.
Die Hard. And Aaron's like, prove it. And he starts, like, I feel like we could have sat back. We could have just let you do the dialogue of the movie. And that's all I could think about. Sorry.
I'll try to pull
it's
back.
so good. No, our
sorry.
real fans are going to love this. You
all
are
right, cool.
giving us such joy. Your passion for it is palpable. And that's why we love having
That's why we do this.
It's all about the rewind, huh,
That's
sister?
right.
That's
right.
right.
All right, so we've got Steve Martin locked away in the dungeon. Ned Niederlander, Martin Short, still hanging up in the piñatas. And suddenly, Dusty Bottoms, Chevy Chase, rescues Carmen, brings Carmen out of her room. And her suggestion is that he like put on the guards' clothing and like walk among the men.
Yes.
And he like gets down into the courtyard and they're celebrating El Guapo's birthday. And there are 2 hilarious jokes in there. So the first is El Guapo gets his gift. Do we know what this is like where we're headed with this? El Guapo gets his gift. He's like, Jefe is like, oh, me and the boys got together and we all pitched in and we got you this gift. And El Guapo opens up the gift and he goes, it's a sweater. Which is like the funniest line of the whole movie, because like, what's a like rough and tumble like bandito in the middle of like the Mexican desert doing
with the sweater?
Like,
and when they ride off later, the girl comes out with the sweater. Like, don't forget your sweater.
Yes.
So true. You know who wrote that line?
Who?
Wasn't Steve Martin.
Who?
Wasn't Lorne Michaels.
Who?
Randy Newman. Randy Newman wrote that joke. The best
You've
joke of the movie.
got a friend in me.
Randy Newman for the win.
Yeah.
Randy Newman rocking it. And then another joke when El Guapo's like talking to all his men, telling them how much he knows them and knows them personally. He gets to Chevy Chase, who's out there in disguise, and he's like, kind of like, what's your name again? And Chevy Chase is like, Jose. And El Guapo's like, and together, what did we do? What did we do? He's like, we burned the village. Yes, we burned the village. And then what else? Raped the horses.
Ooh.
And rode off on the women and pruned the hedges of many small villages. This is like gold. Like, this is hilarious stuff. And it's the perfect kind of joke, because a like 10-year-old kid doesn't get it. It's like going right over their head, but it's smacking the adults sitting behind them in the face.
And they think it's so hilarious.
Yes.
And then suddenly, out of the sky falls Ned Niederlander. And it's almost curtains for the Amigos. El Guapo is furious. Chevy Chase is going to die. Ned Niederlander is going to die. But then they're saved by a twist of fate. What happens? The German recognizes Ned and said, no, this man inspired me to become a shooter and inspired me with the art of the quick draw, and eventually challenges Ned to a duel. And so like, Ned is like, I don't know if I can do this. But eventually he has to. And they like line up everybody across the entire courtyard. And it's like this real fast, like real mean German, and this like little looking, little
Ned
Niederlander with this huge gun that somebody else gave him. And it's really a tough time for the Amigos. It's really scary.
But Ned wins. and the shootout. And it's a great moment where he steps into the hero role for real. And I love that too, because he's the one who said, he was like, he kind of got them together and said, we can do this. We need to, we don't have anything back home as actors. And he kind of talked them into this.
He put his whole heart and soul
Yeah,
into it,
yes.
sure.
And he won the shootout. So he got to be the hero for real.
Well, Lucky grabs El Guapo and holds him at gunpoint long enough for them to escape, first on horseback, and then they jump in the Germans' plane and they fly back to Santo Poco.
And don't we find out when they fly back on the plane that Ned really did not fly the plane in the movie? He had a stunt double fly the plane. And so he really didn't know how to fly the plane, which is why it was such a crazy flight.
Such a crazy flight. And what's hilarious is the landing is like perfect. Like you don't see it on screen. It's like, and then it's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, the landing is perfect.
It's great. Mm-hmm. But El Guapo's army is right behind them. And they know that they've only got a few minutes. So they like rally the villagers. They like inspire them with a great speech by Steve Martin, how everyone's got to fight their own personal El Guapo. Except in our case, our personal El Guapo is the actual El Guapo.
Yes.
And so the town's one talent is that they can sew.
Yes. And I love that, Josh, because he's like, what can you do? And they're just all standing there. And so finally they're like, and they're just kind of looking around and they're like, one of the ladies is like, I know what we can do. And then you see them all at sewing machines.
They're like, we can sew. And Ned Nederlander, like Martin Short's like, sew. Well, great. Why didn't we know this before? Like, this is not going to be helpful. And they come up with this great idea from their movie Amigos, 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 where the entire town, somehow they are able to sew so fast that like dozens of townspeople dressed like amigos. They have all the materials for this. And they also have tons of guns, apparently. Mm-hmm. So that when El Guapo's gangs arrive, like when the gang arrives, it looks empty. Then all of a sudden they're being fired on by all sides.
That's right.
Josh, of course, it makes sense they all had guns because every one of them had a gun. But again, this is a great example, I always say in the 80s, how we are so great at suspending reality and just go with the movie. And that's what happened here. We were like, sure, they can do that.
But Josh, it works, right? Like
it totally works.
The plan works. The gang falls apart. El Guapo is wounded. And just before he dies, he gets one last shot in, literally, and it hits Lucky in the foot.
Yes.
Yeah. But, and then in the end, like, there's a great scene at the very end. It's like very like kind of like Western movie, and a great, like one last great line where they're all saying goodbye to the amigos. The amigos are saying goodbye to their sweethearts or whatever. So then in the end, all the villagers kind of surround the amigos and they're so grateful to them. And they each have their like little one-off send-offs. And there's one last like brilliant line where
let's hear it.
Steve Martin and Carmen are like saying their goodbyes. And Steve Martin goes, I'll come back one day. And Carmen goes, why?
It's the best. It is the best. I laughed out loud when she did. I didn't expect
I did too. That was so funny.
She's like, why?
But it's so good. It's so good. To say nothing of, and now when I was a kid, Ned's girlfriend, who comes out of nowhere, was never in the movie at all, is like this like smoking hot, like actually a Playboy model. And they're like drooling over her. But anyway, the townspeople give the Three Amigos all that they have. The Three Amigos rise to the occasion. They become the true heroes that we always knew that they were. And they say their reward is that justice has been done.
Which is what they always did in the movies, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I interrupted you, but as you were saying, they give it back.
No, they're just, they finally became the real heroes.
Yes. Yes.
I wondered when they rode off, I was like, ooh, is there going to be a sequel? And then I was like, well, this was a long time ago, so I guess not.
And so it did end, as Amanda, that you just said, with them riding off to in the sunset, which is the perfect ending for this, right? Because of the genre and the way they played on the old movies. I thought it was the perfect ending.
I know,
all right.
so
now,
cute.
Josh, we're going to talk about how it measures up, but is there anything that we've missed that needs to be said before we jump there?
Ooh. I think there was one thing that's crazy.
Okay,
There's an actor in this movie, the bartender. The actor's name is Fred Asparagus.
My husband and I noticed that because we were watching it and I paused it for a minute on Amazon Prime and the names come up. You know what I'm talking about? And he's like, that can't be real. And so then I went to IMDb and I'm like, oh yeah, it's real. His name is Fred Asparagus.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Hilarious.
The guy at the cantina?
Yeah.
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 I thought he was funny too, by the way. He was one of the characters, that whole group that reminded me of the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like these guys were.
I think Fred Asparagus was a comedian, like a stand-up comedian in the 80s in the LA area.
Oh, well, that would make sense. Yeah. Okay, so how does this measure up to today? Does it measure up? Josh.
Josh has muted himself. Unmute
I did
yourself,
mute myself because I want to stay out of this. I mean, I kind of.
Well, you're going to have to talk.
I think you know my answer.
Yeah, I think Josh's answer is obvious. He loved it then. He loves it even more now. If they had a convention for Three Amigos, he would
Let's start one.
We could be the Three Amigos. Who would be who? Who would be who? Josh, who would you want to be? Steve Martin?
Oh, that's really funny. When we were kids, we would all pretend to be different.
Who would you be?
Who did you always want to be?
I think I'm always attracted to whoever I thought was the leader. And so like Lucky Day was always the leader to me in Three Amigos. So I would try to be Lucky Day.
I would want to for sure be Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
No
and
question.
Then that would
He's my favorite.
by default make me Ned, the little guy, which
is what you would want to be anyway.
Yeah.
But you said you love Martin Short, so that works.
I do. Oh, that's right. There's a positive way of looking at it.
So real quick before I do want to give our answers, Missy, but I am curious because Missy and I actually did talk about this before. Did you feel like watching Chevy Chase in this movie, Josh, that you were kind of like it was kind of like watching him in Christmas Vacation too? Like
his expressions.
Totally. I never got the Chevy Chase thing. I think I was just later. But I feel like he's always doing Chevy Chase thing, right?
Yes, he's always Chevy Chase
thing. Yes.
Yeah.
It was so when Madison actually walked in the room at a couple of points, and there was the scene when they were around the campfire in the desert and they were eating the food, and it was like the drive.
Yes.
And she was like, that's just like in Christmas Vacation with the turkey.
Same. Yes, I had the same thought.
It's like, you're right, it is.
I had the same thought. All right, Amanda, what do you think? Does it measure up?
Actually, I think it really does. It's a really funny comedy. I think that it is. I love that it's clean enough that everybody can watch it, but it's also really clever and mature for adults too. Like there's part of that for them, especially like the cleverness to the writing. And I also, this is something we didn't really talk about, but I really like, because I didn't remember this until the rewatch, but I like how it's set in the early 1900s. Like, I think that's kind of a cool element of it that makes it seem like it's not dated to the 80s because it's not taking place in the 80s.
That's a good point.
I did. I really enjoyed it.
Well,
You can be
fell
honest,
asleep.
Missy. It won't hurt my feelings.
I did close my eyes during it, but I have a renewed sense of wanting to go watch it again with precious Josh Densen in my head.
I'll come over. We can watch it together.
Okay, that'd be great. You bring your wife. We'll get Amanda and Eric. Y'all can come. Yeah. We'll cook some Mexican food, as Dusty said in the movie. No, it's a great movie. I see the appeal, especially for families. I'm just not much of a slapstick comedy kind of gal.
Missy,
it is absurd.
Does your husband love it?
He laughed a lot when we watched
I would think
it.
he would love this movie. I think he would think it was funny. I also really enjoyed getting to see these three actors together. I thought that was really,
they're great.
Like a really cool thing. And I do have to say in your defense, just for the real fans, when you watched it and fell asleep, you were in a kind of an exhausting time.
Yeah,
So
it was a busy time.
All right. I'll give you some grace.
Okay. All right. Well, real fans, that wraps up our adventure with Lucky, Dusty, and Ned and the chaos and comedy of the Three Amigos.
Josh, thank you so much for doing this with us. It was so much fun. We have to have you on again.
Yes, for sure.
We've had a couple of people on that have come back for more. So if you're interested, we would love to have you back because this was so much fun. Seriously.
I would love it. And I promise the next time I'm back, I will let other people on the podcast speak because I just got to talk the whole time.
No, this was real sisters and a good friend. And I have to say, Josh, when you come back, I will not fall asleep in the rewind and depend on you to carry me on the episode.
We need to get Aaron on for something too.
That would be really fun. Well, I mean, off mic, I will tell you which 80s movie would be like right in her wheelhouse.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you also, Josh. You are a delight. And I am a person who is passionate and I love living life with passion. And we saw that from you. So thank you a lot. All right, real fans. Next week, we're shifting gears in a big way, aren't we, sister?
Yes. This one trades laughs for drama. And let's just say it left quite an impression on pop culture. Missy, what's our first clue?
Okay, clue number 1. Josh, see if you can figure it out, but don't say it out loud.
All right.
Clue number 1 is it's based on a real life story that shook the image of one of Hollywood's golden era stars.
Okay, clue number 2. This film sparked one of the most quoted lines in movie history, though probably not the way filmmakers intended.
You think you're getting it, Josh? All right, here comes clue number 3. When this movie came out, it sparked debates, headlines, and more than a few late night comedy bits.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed our show today and have been enjoying our show, make sure you are subscribed, that you follow. Please leave us a 5-star rating and review. It helps us so much get the show out to other fans. We really appreciate it.
See y'all next week. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.